Welcome back to my Turo Tesla. We're chilling in the car, and I'm happy to report it's been hard to get my hands on this car to make this video because it's been renting out. Turo is like the Airbnb for cars, and so for a quarter of a year now, 3, 6, 9, 12, yes, a quarter of a year, people have been cruising around in my car. Some of them are stoned, some of them I think were drunk, some of them are speeding, some of them are normal and safe. Month 1, I made a very small profit of $400 after 8 renters drove it over 4,000 miles. However, on month 2, I lost $200 because it just didn't rent out that much. There were only 4 trips and they drove it over 1,000 miles, but it just sat in the driveway a lot, not getting rented out. Maybe I should have dropped the car price more, which, spoiler, I did end up doing this month. And so an overview is I got a lot of renters this month, but a lot of them only rented for 1 day. It basically takes me as much time to deal with a 1-day rental as it does a 7 or 10-day rental. But the very first trip of the month started on the first day of the month. It was an airport delivery. He paid me $20 to deliver it to RDU International, and he paid for prepaid charging. So when he drops the car off at the end of the trip, he doesn't have to worry about refueling it. So in the end, I made $150 from a 3-day trip. He drove 300 miles and he was great. He actually drove a Tesla himself, like back where he lived. And so he just wanted the same car when he was on like a business trip here. And I was actually very satisfied with this, even though the airport delivery is a little bit inconvenient. And then the very next day, it rented out for just 1 day. Now, normally I make about $34 on a 1-day rental. The difference this time, however, is he bought 2 extras. Not only did he pay me to deliver it, which I upped my delivery price to $40, so I delivered it to his home about 20 minutes away, but he also paid for prepaid EV charging. So this 30-something rental turned into $95. He was great. His car was in the shop and he just needed it overnight, and he took great care of it. He drove 100 miles and I picked it up the next day. So overall, it was actually pretty good, $95 in a day. The problem is it was very inconvenient for my schedule that day to go and retrieve the car, but I had to make it happen. And then trip number 3 of the month was also 1 day. And it was also to the airport. So I was getting a little, this was 3 deliveries in a row, and he paid $25 for airport delivery. I upped it by a whole $5. And he drove just 89 miles. Trip 4 was very unmemorable, which is a good thing. It was $120 for 3 days. But trip number 5 was another 1-day delivery. He paid $40 for delivery. I made $85 from this trip, and he drove it 328 miles. Now, he was late returning it, which I could have billed him like $50, or it's expensive when people don't return on time, but I wasn't in a rush and he was very nice. So I just let him return it late at no extra cost, which was fine. But he did drive an additional 75 miles over what's allowed. Well, it's allowed. He's not going to get in trouble, but I am allowed to bill him a little bit. So it was an extra $16, which he paid no problem. But after this trip, I disabled deliveries for 1-day rentals because it was just so inconvenient. It was eating into my time and my schedule because I kept having to get up and go to sleep at weird times because I have to every day go deliver and then go pick up and deliver and pick up. So I still allow delivery for longer trips, but 1-day trips, they now have to pick up from the home location. Which brings us on to trip number 6 of the month, which was 1 day, which means I made $37 because she picked up and paid for no extras. But she was a perfectly fine guest. It was like her birthday or something. She just like went to the spa, chilled. She only drove 57 miles. So multiple people have rented this car just for their birthday to have a fun birthday vehicle. I think that's really fun. Like, there's the whole money side to this, but it does just make me really happy to know that people, they treat themselves. Total side tangent here, but I just can't express how happy it makes me to deliver a service to people that makes them happy. Because when I meet them with this Tesla, they're excited, they're hyped, they're smiling, and they're like kind of giggling, like they're like, oh, a Tesla, I get to drive a Tesla. They're excited. In the past, however, I was making money off people's sadness. If you've watched my channel for a while, you already know this, you've heard it a million times, but I was offering a service where people would pay me to take their animals, their exotic animals that they could not keep. So I would meet up with these people, they would pay me, but they're crying. They're sobbing, they're upset, they're angry, not at me, but because they don't want to get rid of their animals. It's because they're going off to college, or they can't afford the animal anymore, or because they're sick, or some people were elderly and could no longer literally get up to feed their pet. Some people had one person contracted brain cancer and had to get rid of their collection of animals. Like, yes, they were grateful that I was doing this service for them, but it was really sad to meet up with these people who just are crushed because they're having to get rid of their beloved animal. I'm so happy to take a pay cut if it means I get to deliver a service to smiling people who are treating themselves to a luxury item. So that's a tangent from this person just went to the spa and enjoyed my car. I'm so glad she enjoyed it. My 7th trip of the month was prosperous for me, not good for my renter. Now, off the bat, I only made $36 because it was a one-day rental, and he drove 261 miles, which is quite a bit for one day, but he returned the car very late, and he didn't charge the car. I hit him with $70 in fees, which brought his one-day trip from $37 to $107, which is actually the most profitable one-day trip I've gotten so far. So it's in my best interest for people to return it late and with no battery, which is hilarious. But I was actually happy that he was a bad guest. He treated the car totally fine. He just wasn't timely, so I got to make that extra money. And my final 8th trip of the month. I don't think their trip was interesting enough for its own dedicated video, but it was this old, like, kind of bitter couple who were really annoying. They couldn't figure out anything. Like, they were the kind of people that, okay, so if I love, like, teaching people how to use technology that they don't know how to use, I would argue I'm very patient, and I am more than happy to explain even the most basic tasks, like unplugging and replugging a device back in. That's fine. However, these people were just annoying because they wouldn't listen, they wouldn't pay attention, and they complained about everything. And they drove the car a lot. They drove to Georgia. They drove over 1,000 miles, and I made $200 off this trip. And they returned the car with no issues, but that entire trip they were calling me and texting me, my personal number as well as via Turo. And then in the end, they didn't even like the car, but I'm surprised it took this long to get an annoying guest. All the other guests, even the ones that damaged the car, were all super respectful. So that was just under $1,000 in revenue in my 3rd month of Turo. So on to expenses, starting with $443, which is the minimum payment for my loan, and then $100 for insurance, $11 for Tesla premium connectivity, which adds a few features to the car, and $32 for 2 car washes and airport parking for the 2 airport deliveries, which means I made a profit because that's about $600 in expenses, about $350 in profit this month. The car was driven almost 3,000 miles, which means I made 12 cents per mile, which might sound bad, and that's because it is bad, but it's the best month yet, actually. So the first month I made 9 cents per mile. The second month I lost. And so this month helped me out. My stats are going up. We've leveled up, everyone, to an all-time profit of $600. Now, there's a lot of other things to account for, like depreciation, because in this 3 months of renting, people drove the car almost 9,000 miles. So it's averaging 3,000 miles a month, which means in the end, I'm making 6.5 cents per mile so far. And this is from a total of 20 trips on Turo. It's been rented out 56 out of the 90 days it's been listed. Not to mention, I've now put over $2,000 towards the loan of this car. So basically, the majority of the expenses of this vehicle is paying it off, which, yes, the car depreciates, but I'm on my way to another paid off Tesla by doing minimal work. Yes, it takes work to do Turo, but not that much work. And I can see the numbers continuing to increase. I feel like we're so back this month. It was a pretty good month overall, not incredibly prosperous, but it's on the up and up. And I'm still not an all-star host, but if I do reach that all-star host status, maybe the rentals will go up even more, because I'll be considered one of the best hosts on the platform, and hopefully more people will continue to rent for me. Because even if I make just $25 or $35 a day on this car, if it's rented out as many days as possible, that can be pretty dang profitable. I mean, basically, I made a second car payment on top of the first car payment for this car. So let's say I made 2 car payments per month. What if I just paid it off in 30 months instead of 60 months? After 30 months, hey, I got another Tesla. But again, depreciation is a thing. Every mile that this car is driven, it is worth less money. Exactly how much is hard to say. It's a bit of a gamble. All I can guarantee is that it is worth less over time. It's not like a home that becomes more valuable. It's only going down. The MSRP of this car was probably 50 something thousand, 50 to 55,000, and I paid 22,000 for it, and someday it'll be worth 20, and then 18, and then 16, maybe down to $10,000 someday. And then I'll probably buy another one because that's a really damn good deal. The other bad thing is damage. It has gotten scratched up. It's got dings. Someone tore the tint. Little paint chips, whatever. A little chip in the windshield I need to get filled. Some of this is just normal wear and tear. Other of it is like someone probably door dinged it and someone scratched the bottom part. So I've only had one payout from damage. That was my very first month. And yeah, overall the car is being hurt physically. It's being scratched up, it's being dinged. If this was my personal car I cared about, I would be crying myself to sleep every night, but because it's just the secondary I call it the investment car. People say there's no such thing as an investment car, but I don't care because I live in a fantasy land and I call it an investment car. Also, what makes me feel better is that I bought it in not great condition. It already had damaged paint and door dings and bumps and scrapes and scratches. It would have also hurt if this was a brand new Tesla. Some people bought the brand new Model 3 Highland and put it on Turo. That would be rough to see it getting damaged. But no, I bought it a bit dinged up and it continues to get dinged up. So let me know what you think of these videos of Turo. If it's encouraged or discouraged you to try it yourself, or if you don't care at all and you're just here to chill, here to vibe, here to see what's going on, here to see if anyone else has doinked in my car yet. And also, you are my financial advisor. That's right. Yes, you. You can leave a comment. Whether I listen to it or not is undetermined, but I will read it, so you're welcome to be as honest and brutal as you want about whether this is a good use of time and money, but that'll be it. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'm Alex, and thanks for watching.